In every classroom, every office, every corner of the world, there's always one, the quiet one, the person who seems to exist in the background, a shadow against the vibrant tapestry of loud voices and bold personalities. We see them, but we don't always notice them. We hear them, but we don't always listen. This is a story about one of them, a story about the incredible power that grows in silence. His name was Leo, but to most of his classmates, he was just that quiet kid. He sat near the back, not to hide, but because it was where he felt most comfortable, where the noise of the room faded just enough for him to think. He rarely raised his hand, not because he didn't know the answer, but because the thought of all eyes turning to him felt like a physical weight. Teachers would often skip over him, their eyes scanning for the eager, outstretched arms of his peers. Anyone else? No. Okay, let's move on. And Leo would quietly jot down the answer in his notebook, a silent conversation with himself. His classmates weren't mean, not really. They just didn't see him. In group projects, he was often the last one picked, the leftover member assigned to a team that had already decided its direction. They'd give him the easy tasks, the formatting, the printing, the busy work. They assumed his silence meant a lack of ideas, a lack of ability. He'd nod, accept the work, and then go home and not only complete his part, but also research the entire topic, understanding it more deeply than anyone on his team. He never corrected them. He never said, "I have an idea." He just did the work. There were moments of doubt, of course, whispers he'd overhear in the hallway. I don't think Leo even studies, or a teacher's well-meaning but misguided advice. Leo, you need to participate more if you want to succeed. Each comment was a small sting, a reminder of the box they had put him in. He'd go home, the words echoing in his mind. He'd look at the stacks of books on his desk, the pages filled with his own notes, the complex problems he'd solved on his own. He knew the truth. But how do you prove something to people who aren't even looking? The frustration was a quiet hum beneath the surface, a silent storm no one else could see. But instead of letting that storm break him, Leo used it as fuel. He realized something profound. He didn't need their applause to learn. He didn't need their validation to grow. His journey was his own, and its progress wasn't measured in classroom participation points, but in the steady, quiet accumulation of knowledge. So he channeled all that energy, all that frustration, into his work. He found a strange peace in the late hours of the night, with only the soft glow of his desk lamp and the rustle of turning pages for company. While others were out, he was in. While others talked about their ambitions, he was quietly building the skills to achieve his library card. Was his most used possession. He devoured books on subjects far beyond the school curriculum. He taught himself coding from online tutorials, practiced advanced calculus just for the challenge, and read classic literature simply for the love of the story. His progress was invisible to the outside world. It was a 1% improvement every single day. A brick laid carefully, meticulously, on a foundation no one else knew he was building. He wasn't studying for the test. He was learning for himself, and in that quiet, focused pursuit, he found a confidence that didn't need to be spoken. It was a deep, unshakable belief in his own process. The turning point came, as it often does, without any warning. It was the annual National Science Competition. The school always participated, but rarely with any notable success. This year, the theme was complex, sustainable urban ecosystems. The science teacher, Mr. Harrison, announced it to the class, expecting the usual few bright, outspoken students to volunteer. He talked about the immense amount of research, the intricate models, the high-level presentation required. As he finished, a hand went up in the back of the room. It wasn't waving frantically, just raised, steadily. It was Leo. A ripple of surprise went through the classroom. A few students exchanged confused glances. Mr. Harrison paused, equally taken aback. "Leo, you want to enter the science competition?" he asked, a hint of doubt in his voice. Leo just nodded, his expression calm. "Yes, sir. I have a few ideas I've been working on." Reluctantly, Mr. Harrison agreed, perhaps thinking it would be a good learning experience for the quiet student. He had no idea what was about to happen. Over the next few weeks, Leo worked, but this time, his work wasn't entirely in the shadows. He stayed after school in the science lab. Mr. Harrison would pop in, expecting to find him struggling. Instead, he found intricate blueprints, a working miniature model of a vertical farming system powered by recycled greywater, and a research binder so thick it looked like a college thesis. He saw code running on Leo's laptop, simulating traffic flow patterns to minimize carbon emissions. He saw a level of detail, of passion, of sheer brilliance that he had never, ever suspected. Mr. Harrison started staying late too, not to supervise, but to learn. He'd ask Leo a question, and Leo would explain the concept with a clarity and depth that was astonishing. He wasn't just repeating facts. He had synthesized information from dozens of sources, forming his own innovative solutions. The teacher who once doubted him was now his student. He asked Leo, "Why didn't you ever say anything?" Leo looked up from his work and replied softly, "I guess I was too busy learning." The day of the competition arrived. Schools from across the country filled the auditorium. The other teams were loud, confident, practicing their polished presentations. Leo stood by his project, calm and composed. When it was his turn, he walked to the stage. A hush fell over his school's delegation. What would he do? Could he even speak in front of this many people? He began to talk, and his voice, though not loud, was clear and steady. It carried a weight of authority, the unmistakable sound of someone who knows their subject inside and out. He didn't use fancy jargon or try to sound impressive. He just explained his project, his vision. He spoke of how a city could breathe, how it could feed its people, how it could thrive in harmony with nature. He walked the judges through his model, explained his data, and answered their toughest questions with effortless precision. There was no hesitation, no doubt. It was the culmination of thousands of silent hours. When he finished, there was a moment of stunned silence. Then the auditorium erupted in applause. It wasn't just polite clapping, it was a wave of genuine, thunderous appreciation. The judges were speechless, whispering among themselves, looking back and forth from Leo to his project. His classmates and teachers sat in utter disbelief. The quiet kid, the one they had all overlooked, he hadn't just entered the competition, he had redefined it. Of course, Leo won. He won first place, a scholarship, and national recognition. When he returned to school, everything had changed. The hallways parted for him. Students who had never spoken to him before now greeted him with respect. Classmates who had ignored his ideas now asked for his help. Teachers looked at him with a new sense of wonder. He was no longer the invisible boy in the back of the room. He was a leader. But Leo himself hadn't changed. He was still quiet. He was still humble. He accepted the praise with a simple thank you, and then he went back to his books, back to his projects, back to his quiet pursuit of knowledge. The noise around him had changed, but his inner world remained the same. He hadn't worked hard for the applause. The applause was just a side effect of the work. His success wasn't loud. It was the result of a quiet, relentless determination that had been there all along. His story is a powerful reminder. Success doesn't always shout. Ambition doesn't always need an audience. True strength often grows in silence, cultivated through patience, discipline, and an unshakable belief in your own path. So the next time you see the quiet one in the corner, don't underestimate them. Don't overlook them. They might not be raising their hand, but they are raising their standards. They might not be talking about their dreams, but they are busy building them. They are the silent architects of their own success, and when they finally reveal what they've been working on, it has the power to change the world. Remember, the loudest thunder often comes from the quietest storm. Trust in the process, believe in quiet confidence, and never ever doubt the power of silent determination.